Hello, everybody. I don't know if anybody is going to watch this, but couldn't sleep. And I was just watching some YouTube. And I am a JFK connoisseur, so to speak. I have studied JFK my entire life. I went from the most ardent conspiracy theorist to basically believing the Warren Commission. So, I thought there might be some people out there who might want to argue with me about the magic bullet theory. So I was going to bring up, I watched Joe Rogan's, what's up, man? Stock 3? How you doing, brother? So I'm just going to sit here and argue, honestly. I think I can prove that the magic bullet theory is true. Yeah, I'm up late, Chase. How you doing? Couldn't sleep. I was doing some research and some other stuff. I do a lot of research, as you know. And I got into some JFK stuff. I was watching some videos, honestly. And I have been studying JFK my whole life. So I thought it might be fun just to jump on and argue with some people, because I know most people out there don't believe that the Warren Commission report is real, that it's true. I actually do, and I went from being an ardent conspiracy theorist, almost probably up through my mid-20s, until I just did a bunch of research, I did a bunch of reading, and now I pretty much believe the Warren Commission report with some minor changes. But the thing about that I wanted to talk about tonight, that I just wanted to dish around with anybody who wanted to argue with me, is that I think the magic bullet theory is true. And I know that, or I believe that. No, Ostock, the shot came from the drainage. No, it's impossible. It's impossible. You can look at the trajectory of the bullets and the wounds, and even the Zapruder film. So if you want to go into other parts of this, I would love to, honestly, because I haven't gotten to argue with anybody about it in a long time. And I haven't really argued with a conspiracy theorist that much since I became not one. And when I say conspiracy theorist, okay, I don't like using that term. I think it's a pejorative. But I believe that the Warren Commission report is largely true. So I just want to play this little Joe Rogan clip. There was 3 shots. Yes, Ostock, there was 3 shots. I think there was only 3 shots, because all the acoustic evidence that came out in the 70s in the Assassination Committee's report, it's all been debunked because it was done with 1970s. It's 1970s acoustical equipment. I don't know if the CIA was involved. I think it's possible. I think that's possible. I think Oswald was the shooter. I think Oswald did kill him. Who Oswald was connected to? I don't know, man. I think there's lots of evidence to show that he had connections he shouldn't have had. There is lots of evidence to show that he was being bounced around the world for some reason, which I think is very strange. But I just want to play this little Joe Rogan clip. And this is fair use, by the way. Just going to play a little clip. So I know that YouTube likes to, especially people are going out and trying to knock down my videos, but it's all right. This is just fun. So I'm going to play this and we'll see what to say. We'll kind of go off from there. What do you think? Let's do it. Super chat's open. If you want to throw those out, always appreciate those. Oh, let me make sure I've got the crap on. Hold on just a second. Sorry, guys. I need to get another monitor. You know what I mean? There we go. Chase, I'd like to know who you really are, because you're always like on all of my stuff, and I appreciate that. You haven't heard, you've heard the bullet, they have say hit JFK isn't the bullet because of how forensics isn't consistent with a bullet that hit a body. Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to discuss today. It's exactly what I'm going to discuss because I have a lot of experience with guns and shooting things. And I know a lot about bullets, and I know a lot about the difference in bullets and how they react when they hit live beings, depending on the type of bullet they are. So let's just jump into this video with Joe Rogan real quick, just so we have a baseline to go from. This little baseline.
People that were in on it. That's what I believe.
You think there are multiple shooters?
Yes. And one of the reasons why I believe that is because of the formation of the single bullet theory. And the single bullet theory was formed because the fact that they had to account for one bullet that hit the underpass, ricocheted off, and put some man in the hospital.
Yeah, that's not exactly right at all.
Before that, they did not have an explanation for why all of these bullet holes, all these wounds were in all these different people's bodies. The other reason why I'm inclined to believe there's a conspiracy was the fact that they found that bullet on Connolly's gurney when they brought him into the hospital. It's too convenient, and the bullet itself is fairly pristine.
Okay.
Knowing as much as I know about bullets from personal experience of hunting, you can't hit anything.
Turn it up.
I pulled a lot of bullets out of
Hold on.
animals. When you shoot an animal and you hit bone, those bullets, they distort brutally. I mean, they don't look like that after they go through two people and hit all sorts of bone. That's the bullet that came out of Connolly's body.
Okay, let's go back so you can hear it because it was a little bit low because I want you to hear what he says.
The hospital. It's too convenient, and the bullet itself is fairly pristine. Now, that before that, they did not have an explanation for why all of these bullet holes, all these wounds were in all these different people's bodies. The other reason why I'm inclined to believe there's a conspiracy was the fact that they found that bullet on Connolly's gurney.
So this is what I'm going to talk about right here.
It's too convenient, and the bullet is
Not convenient, it's science.
pristine. Now, knowing as much
Fairly
as I know
pristine.
about bullets from personal experience of hunting, you can't hit anything with a bullet. I pulled a lot of bullets out of animals. When you shoot an animal and you hit bone, those bullets, they distort brutally. I mean, they don't look like that.
He doesn't know that much about guns.
And hit all sorts of bone. That's the bullet that came out of
Okay.
Connolly's body.
So let's talk about this for a second. We'll freeze it right there. All right. So he says that this is a video I remember seeing on the bullet. Yes. Okay. So let's talk about bullets for a second. What do y'all know about bullets? You know anything? So I'm not saying you don't know anything. I'm just saying that bullets come in different types. When you're hunting deer, which I have my whole life, you usually hunt deer with something that is an exploding mushrooming bullet. Okay, which means it has a softer tip on it, so when it hits the deer, right, or it hits flesh, right, it's made to expand and mushroom out and fragment. My dad used to say it like this. It goes in the size of a dime and comes out the size of a cash register. Okay, because if you use a big, like 30-06 or 300 Win mag or something like that, pardon me, the bullet is made to mushroom. It's like a hollow point, right? It's made to mushroom out and fragment out. Now, what Oswald used, a 6.25 man like a Carcano, he was using what's called a full metal jacket bullet. What's a full metal jacket? You know? Anybody? A full metal jacket bullet is solid. Okay? It's all the same composite metal, and it's hard. It's brass, or it's not brass, but hard steel, hard brass, hard iron, whatever metal is in it. Okay, usually brass, but or something as hard as brass, right? And a full metal. The reason why they have full metal jacket bullets, those are invented out of the Geneva Convention. Okay, because they didn't want exploding bullets in war. So they agreed in the Geneva Convention for rules for war to only use full metal jacket bullets. Full Metal Jacket bullets are made to pierce and go through something without mushrooming, without splitting apart. Now, that's not to say that they can't. It's not to say that they can't be deformed, and they usually are deformed if they hit something hard, right? They will be deformed if they hit something hard. But if they don't hit anything hard, and especially this varies from gun to gun, but the 6.25 Mannlicher Carcano was actually a pretty decent cheap gun. The Italian brand was used in the Italian army for years and years and years. Very reliable bolt action, cheap gun. But it shot straight, and if the bore was good, it had a good velocity. Okay, so Chase is asking, how do we explain the curvature of the shot? Okay, let me get there. So just hold on to this in your mind, that the bullet, like Joe Rogan said, is not going to explode upon hitting soft flesh. It's not even going to explode upon hitting bone. It will fragment, it will distort, right? But it will not explode. It's not going to go unless it hits something really hard like the skull. So like the third shot for Kennedy, when it hit the skull and it hit something that hard, and that's going to fragment the bullet, especially as it goes out as well. Okay? So the fragment or the curvature of the shot. Okay? For starters, that is a complete myth. It is a complete myth, and I'll show you why. Well, I'm going to pull up my little picture here that I got together for you, because I prepared for this even. There were 3 echoes. There were 3 echoes. But and there's all kinds of talk about the acoustic evidence that came out in the 70s. And so much of that has been debunked because it was bad. It's just bad science. It was bad technology. And when you shot, if you've ever been in Dealey Plaza, it's literally a big kind of cavern surrounded by buildings, and you've got buildings on all sides. So you got echoes of echoes. So know that. You're going to hear one echo, you're going to hear another echo, and then another echo, especially on poor audio equipment. First thing. The other part about it is, have you ever shot a gun or been out hunting at all? If not, it's amazing when you hear, like my dad and my brothers all killed just a bunch of deer. They all are very successful hunters. I've been a successful hunter, but not like them. They just shoot everything all the time. Okay, nothing to be sorry about, Chase. It's this is something I know way too much about, because I'm just a nerd like that. So I'm just informing you. And you can challenge me if you disagree or if you find some evidence that prove I'm wrong. No problem. But the interesting about hearing a shot in the woods, for example, when you hear someone shoot, I can always tell when whomever is shooting has hit what they're aiming at. Do you know how? Because you'll actually hear the bullet hit the target, the smack, like a literal smack, and it's loud, before you hear the shot. Because the bullet's moving so fast and hits the target before the sound has a chance to come out of the explosion of the gun. So you'll hear smack, pow, like that. And so when you're talking about an urban setting where that can bounce around, you're going to get all kinds of different noises from that. But there were 3 shots. Okay? There were 3 shots. But look at this. So this is the path of the bullet. Now what people are used to seeing is this kind of hit the back, go. It's from the movie JFK. That has it's set up in an incorrect way by putting John Connolly, who was in front of the president, directly at his line of sight, okay, and directly in front of the president, okay? But really, that's not the way it was. John Connolly, the governor, was in a jump seat in front of the back seat of the president, so the seat was lower and in about 6 inches. So if I'm sitting in front of him, right, or if I'm sitting behind him, if I was looking straight ahead, I wouldn't be looking at the back of his head. I would be looking over his right shoulder. And he would be down. And you can see this in the Zapruder film if you watch it and you pay attention. Because John Connolly was tall. Okay? And he's down. And he's wearing a cowboy hat, and the president is noticeably above him. And that's the way the car was designed, because the president's the person you want to see. John Connolly's just the governor. That's just the way the car was set up to be. Okay? But if you look at this, and you can draw a straight line back to the sixth floor of the school book depository. You can draw a straight line, and the measurement's perfect from wound to wound to wound. So the bullet never has to turn or anything like that. It's a straight shot from the way the president was sitting, where it hits him like right above the right shoulder, kind of inward towards the spine, comes out this part of his throat. It goes down. It goes into the back of Connolly, through his chest, out his right nipple, I believe, or his right nipple, yes, and then in, breaks his wrist, through his wrist, and lodges very shallowly in his thigh. This has been recreated. Actually, I'm going to just show you the recreation, because why not? And it's actually pretty short, but I think this is worth showing you, because I wasn't showing you the picture I was looking at. Gosh, I'm not very in with it right now. Hold on, let me show you this. Ta-ta-ta. I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm not showing it to you. How bad of a host am I? So if you look. Now, so this is how he was actually sitting. And it depicts him being lower and in towards the right, or towards Kennedy's left. So he'd be looking right over his left. And when the shot was fired, Connolly was turned back toward the president. You can see that in the Zapruder film too. Yes, I've seen the Mythbusters special. They make the same, but they divert from that theory to focus on the curve. Yeah, well, but see, what they didn't understand is also the yaw of the bullet. So everybody thinks that, and because it was a full metal jacket bullet, it's not, as long as it didn't hit any bone in Kennedy's back or neck, which it didn't. It came out right here, right above the where your bone meets your, right where your Adam's apple, right below your Adam's apple. So it didn't hit any bone in Kennedy at all. And it came out, but what it did do, what this kind of bullet would do, because it was a short, fat bullet at around what these Mannlicher Carcano bullets were tended to do is to what is called yaw. And you think, okay, well, a bullet's going to keep going, it's going to keep going straight, and it's going to go point forward the whole time. No. What it's actually going to do, so if this is the bullet, right, you see this? Right? And it's coming like this. After it hit Kennedy, because it got resistance, it starts to yaw, which means that the bullet actually came in and hit John Connolly, not point forward, but broadside. So if you look at the wound that hit Connolly right under the right arm back here, it doesn't look like a puncture wound. It looks like it was hit like with a keyhole, like that. And then when it went into his body, it ricocheted off of some of his ribs just enough, but it came out again as it was tumbling, and it was still tumbling the whole time. and came out and went into his wrist and broke his wrist. Now, the one thing that they say that Joe Rogan says in there too is that there's no way that the bullet ends up in the stretcher. Well, I'm going to show you that it absolutely could end up in the stretcher because he had a superficial wound, or it had lodged in his, just very, not that deeply, into his thigh after it went out of his wrist, right? And literally fell out. I'm going to prove to you that this is right. I'll show you this video. Hold on. Let me find it. I had pulled it up and I need to go back to it. But because this shows it, and I'm going to try to split this up so I don't get hit. Shh. Shh. Sorry. I'm talking to myself. Where'd it go? Come on, man. And of course, it's not going to be easy. But this proves it for me because, one, I've seen this type of thing happen before, where you can literally just pull a bullet out. If it doesn't hit anything hard, it's not going to fragment. It's just not going to fragment. And once if it does hit something hard and it doesn't hit it point first and hits it broadside, it's going to flatten, which they call it the pristine bullet, but it's not a pristine bullet. It's flat. And I'll show you that too. Hold on, I just got to find this. That's a gelatin test. Come on, I just had it. But what it does is it literally just kind of bounces off his thigh and ends up in the stretcher. So, hold on just a second. I'm sorry, guys. I had pulled all this stuff up, and now, of course, I can't find it. That's what I get. That's what I get for being up too late. For being up too late. What other questions you got? My videos. Hold on. Come on, man. Of course. I hate when this happens. There we go. JFK. Come on. Alright, I found it. Alright, so here we go. I'm going to show you this. This is fair use. I'm not going to show the whole thing. Present. Watch this. This is very interesting. Come on. There we go. I'll turn this down just a little bit. So I'm going to show you how this bullet goes through. And this is a direct setup. They had set everything up to be exactly like the shot. And so here we go.
Final reading. On a 60-foot high shooting platform, Dr. Alex Christic loaded an identical round into a Mannlicher Carcano rifle.
So same shot, same distance, same gun, same bullet.
Single shot.
So there it is. You actually see the bullet bounce. Look.
Right at 6 o'clock. I'm happy with that side picture.
Where's the projectile going? That's interesting. Projectile there? It's definitely exited.
The bullet passed through both torsos
See, they hit
and
it.
the wrist block, but there is no sign of it in the gelatin thigh. Where has it gone?
We can review the video if you like.
At
Now watch this,
30,000
watch
frames
this.
per second, our high-speed camera can capture the path of the bullet.
Boom, boom.
It struck Kennedy in the neck, streaking through to Conley, then
And bounces.
exited and moved through the wrist block. Leaving the wrist, it only had enough energy to bounce on the thigh block and tumble off.
And that block is supposed to represent the thigh.
Amazingly, Alex has replicated the magic bullet shot.
It went
Directly behind to the right.
The
See?
team begins to search
So,
for our magic bullet.
They
while
find it. Now I'm gonna show you the
begins to
bullet, but there's something that happened different here. But you see, it went right through, boom, and it started to yaw and spin, and you can actually see it as they slow it down. And it went through the exact same pathway, and instead of actually inserting in what they had set up for the thigh, it just bounces right off of it. Because, and they'll tell you why in a second, because this bullet in the cadaver thing that they had set up did something that didn't happen with the JFK bullet when it hit him. So, but I just want to
Were we roughly on the right spot there?
Absolutely.
Went through
bring
the
it up.
equivalent of the forearm, gone down with... Oh, very good. All right, well, there it is. And it is somewhat deformed.
Okay, so now
Called pristine in the least.
Why is our bullet more deformed than the magic bullet?
this is a very good question.
And why was our bullet unable to penetrate Connolly's thigh? To answer
So the reason for this, so I don't get a fair use strike, right, is because unlike the bullet, if you saw earlier in the video, he didn't hit at the exact same spot. He marked the spot and he was about low and to the left about 6 inches. He hit 2 ribs in the Kennedy dummy that the bullet didn't hit in the real Kennedy. So it hit no bone until it hit Connolly's wrist. It ricocheted off just one part of Connolly's rib, one rib, but this one hit 2, and it hit it more straight on. And so, but even then it wasn't even that deformed. It was a little bit twisted, but it still did the exact same thing. So if they could have recreated that same shot and only hit one rib, right? I think it would have looked exactly the same. Here's the other part of it. I have taken this same gun with the same bullet and shot the bullet into a pine board or a pine stump and dug the bullet out, and it comes out looking just like the magic bullet. And this is wood. Yeah, it's not even really a magic shot, Chase. What it was a. If you've ever been to Dealey Plaza, I could make that shot. I've made more difficult shots at things moving way faster from further away. I guess it would be a magic shot in that it didn't hit any bone until Connolly's one rib, and the wrist. But the physics of it are perfectly. This whole crap of that it turns in midair, and that's all theater. That's all Oliver Stone being an idiot. That's exactly what it is. It's the magic bullet of it all is not magic at all. And if you look at I wanted to pull up a picture. The actual bullet, it's way more deformed than they say it is. So hold on, here it is. I'll show you. History, It's way more deformed than they make it out to be. And this isn't even the best picture of it. But if you see the back of it, here, and there's a little piece that's cut out, that they cut out, but you can see here it's flattened. There's some shadow here. But if you look at it from the back, the bullet's flat. It looks more pristine right here because of the way they've taken the picture. But there are pictures that are harder to find that you can see. And that just proved that the bullet was fired, and it hit what it hit, and it's not magic. It's just not magic. So there's that end of it. There's also the end of it that they say that nobody could make those 3 shots in that amount of time. Well, it was really almost 9 seconds. And you got to remember that the 9 seconds only starts after the first shot. People think you have to do, it's boom, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000, 7 1,000, 8 1,000, 9 1,000. It's like 8 point something seconds, 9.2 seconds. Not that difficult. Boom, cha-cha-cha, boom. If he hits the first time, you wait a few seconds for him to round the corner. It's perfectly. And when you're talking about a Marine, which Oswald was a Marine, and a 96 out of 100 rating in marksmanship from twice the distance, iron sights. So, yeah, you can see abrasions. Yeah, the bullet was fired, and then they had taken some out of it here. Let's see if I can make it bigger. But if you actually look at it from the end up towards your eye, it's flat. The bullet's flat, and that comes from the yaw and it hitting Connolly that way. The scarring from the ligaments, yeah. Yes, that's right. Yeah, it would divert the bullet and make it tumble. That's exactly right. But what people don't understand is that this specific bullet, this specific caliber, this specific type of gun was way more susceptible to yaw. The bullet was way stronger, had a more flat firing pattern. And I've seen tons of tests done on this bullet and this gun, and it always yaws. It hits anything and that bullet starts tumbling. So it's just kind of a strange bullet, a strange caliber, a strange flight path. Now, somebody was talking about earlier, who was it? I don't know if they're here anymore. Who was it? Stock 3? Hey guys, like, subscribe. That'd be appreciated. But he said something about, hold on, where was it? The shot came from the drainage ditch. Nope, there's no way. I've been there. If you've been there, that is an impossible shot. The car would have been too high. Stock, yeah. You said the shot came from the drainage ditch? You think the shot came from the drainage ditch? It's impossible. There's no line of sight to the head. And I'm assuming you're talking about... No. Nothing came from the front. And let me guess. Your argument would be back and to the left? Back and to the left? Let me tell you something you don't know about that. So, John Kennedy, here's a little history lesson. John Kennedy was a war veteran, and he hurt his back as the captain of PT-109 in South Pacific. And it was a really pretty amazing story. He with a broken back, he towed people by towing them with their clothes in his teeth to a desert island, and it literally saved his crew's life. It's pretty amazing. It's all real. But he had back problems his whole life. Plus, he had what was called Addison's disease, and he took cortisone shots and all kinds of things that basically broke down the ligaments in his back, broke down the discs in his back. And so what people don't realize is that John Kennedy wore a back brace. And when I say a back brace, I'm not talking like, just like a little bitty brack. It came from right here all the way down to right above where his, his pelvic bone is. And it was tied through his thighs. And so he was literally incapable of bending with this back brace on. He was literally incapable of bending. And there's some people that say that if he wouldn't have been wearing the back brace, after the first shot, he might have been able to duck and cover and at least get himself out of the way. But the back brace literally held him up, because if you see him when he goes down like this, he goes like this, he kind of springs back. He goes forward and he springs back, and he goes forward and he springs back. Well, the back brace, right, is keeping him upright. Okay? And the bullet, when you see in the Zapruder film, it looks like he goes back and to the left. Not really what happens. First of all, if you've ever seen anything shot, it doesn't, a lot of times it will fall toward the direction of the bullet. Like I was hunting and got a deer that literally, it was standing right, probably 40 yards from me, and I hit this sucker with a 30-30, and it didn't fall away from me, it fell toward me. And I went on a hill. But, that notwithstanding, the back and to the left spring were because of two things. One was because of that back brace. Okay? Is because when it was hit, and the wound from the head here, right? Which is where it hit, here. Actually, the impact of the bullet snapped his head forward, and his body hit that brace. And then the other part of it was just what happens when you have dramatic impact to the brain. Right? When you have dramatic impact to the brain, have you ever seen somebody get knocked out and lock up? Like in MMA? You ever seen that? Go watch. They have all kinds of YouTube videos on it. You can see it. But if somebody gets hit and they have their body will lock up and it'll seize, and it literally all the electricity goes from their brain throughout their body and locks them up. And so it was the spring of the back brace plus that jolt of his body's last response to the brain injury that made his head go back, that made his body go back. But if you look at it, it's like this. And this is something I've never did understand, is that they say that you can actually see, it's an old video, but you can see the indention of what part of the head was still remaining and what it wasn't if you watch the Zapruder film. And this part, it looks like it does in the autopsy pictures. And what you also must understand is that when this bullet hit that hard material, because the skull is much harder than a rib, it's much thicker than a rib, it's much more compact, and plus there's more of it to go, that bullet fragmented in many different pieces. And so that shot absolutely could not have come from the front. And the shots that hit Connolly couldn't have come from the front because his wrist was down. So there's forensically, whether you want to put it on Oswald or not, somebody sitting in Oswald's seat made those shots. They came from the same place. If there were other shots fired, they all missed. So whoever these other CIA sharpshooters were, apparently, weren't very good at their job. That's just, it's literally, you can map it out. And all of the Oliver Stone BS, I don't know. People like to make money, guys. And there's been a lot of money made off the Kennedy assassination. Lots of it. It's interesting. But I think the more interesting part is what they did with it. Don't you know that Oswald swung the barrel like wanted? Oh yeah, man, that'd be cool if you could do that. Just curve the bullet, you know. It's neat. I think the more interesting thing about the Kennedy assassination is not the actual. I mean, the actual event itself is very interesting, obviously, but it's what the mass media figured out they could do from it. That's what's interesting about the Kennedy assassination. The Kennedy assassination was the first event in American history that was all experienced at once at the same time because of television. It was the first national, unified, all at once, traumatic event. Then why did Jackie Diamond kill Oswald? Who's Jackie Diamond? You mean Ruby? Jack Ruby? You know, for starters, Ruby was an eccentric character. I'm not saying that there weren't. Look, in terms of who planned the killing, that's up to debate for me. I'm talking about who actually did it. I'm talking about who actually did it. You know what I mean? And Ruby, there's nothing that's a little nuts. But he was a little off his rocker kind of guy. But I mean, I've dove into stuff about, you know, what do they call it? The mind control stuff that they were doing with the CIA at that point. There's that aspect of it. You can dive down that rabbit hole. You can dive down the mob rabbit hole. He was just nuts and angry. Do you know why flip-flops can't be Navy SEALs? Because they can't pass boot camp because they don't make good sneakers. All right. Well, the CIA. That's funny, Chase. The CIA. I mean, they were doing MK Ultra. That's the other part. After I heard about Ted Kaczynski and what they actually did to him at Harvard, they created that guy. It may not have been intentional for him to have him do what he did, but they took a 16-year-old boy and fried his brain as a part of a CIA experiment. They did. That's like actually documented. And it drove the guy nuts, and he ended up planting mail bombs. You know what I mean? Like, that stuff had consequences. So in terms of Jack Ruby, I think Jack Ruby, if you want to take the just standard line, is that he was an eccentric guy. He loved Kennedy, and he wanted probably to get famous. I've heard people say that he was hypnotized, MK Ultra. I've heard people say that he worked for the mob and was supposed to silence Oswald. And make no mistake about it, Sam Giancana and Bobby Kennedy and all of that. But I think my favorite conspiracy theory, you know, I was on Timcast, right? Chase? I was on Timcast. What was it? 2 weeks ago? So, we didn't get a chance to talk about it. I wish we would have. Talked about a lot of, and Luke was there. He's an interesting guy. You want to know something about Timcast? First of all, it's weird being in that room when you watch that show all the time. First of all, Tim is really intense. He doesn't talk much before the show. But, and then here's some behind the scenes. You ready for this? Here's So I'm sitting there, and Luke, what you don't see is that, okay, so from where I'm sitting, Tim is right across from me, across the table. Ian is like over to my left across the table. Lydia was down at the other end, and Luke is right next to me, right? And it's so funny. I walk in and I go and I sit down in the chair, and it's very surreal being in that room. And I look down, and there's just a giant pile of used tissues all around Luke and my chair. Huge pile. And it's so funny. You will see, what you don't see, because the cameras are going back and forth, is him just like constantly wiping his nose. Like, just seeing it. There's a trash can. That's the funny part. There's a trash can right there, Luke Radowski. But not a one of those used tissues was in that trash can. That's one of the most memorable experiences of my time on Timcast. It was fun, though. It was fun. Tim is real intense. Ian is the nicest guy. I'm telling you, he's the nicest guy. Luke is super smart. They were all really nice. They were all really nice. But it's an interesting experience because you fly all day to get there. And you're supposed to be up on current events, but you can't do any of that with your phone all whacked out, flying all day. And so you have to do basically, you're there an hour or two before. And you have to cram. And it's so funny. This is what's interesting about it too, is that, so Tim walks through the door downstairs in the green room, and he introduced himself. He won't shake your hand. He does the fist bump. You know what I mean? Yeah, tell him to use the trash can, because that stuff was a little gross, man. But I just could not get over the fact. There was not a single one of those used tissues in the trash can that was literally there for him to put them in. It's like he was actively avoiding it. And you could tell it had been there for days. Probably the whole week, because I was there on a Thursday. Interesting. But Tim came in and, he introduced, and he's playing pool. Did a little fist bump. Didn't really talk. But then it's like, boom, he's like, all right, let's go make money. And he runs upstairs. And we go in, and you sit down, and then he just starts. That whole show is not really planned until it's planned because he does his shows during the day, and you can get a good idea of where he's going. But they just start spitballing stuff, man. You just start talking, oh yeah, this, oh yeah, that, oh just da-da. And you get about 10 minutes of that, and then the show starts. That's it. And he lines out all the stories right then. He makes the thumbnail probably, a minute and a half before it starts. This is Timcast IRL, Tim Pool. He is intense. But he's super smart, and you can tell he knows what he's doing, and he's incisive, man, and he runs a tight ship. You can tell that by the way everybody acts. He's got a formula, and he uses it. Well, it's not that it's on the cuff, because he spends all day doing it. Or off the cuff. It's not that it's off the cuff. It's off the cuff for us. For him, he knows where we're going. But he'll let us bring. He actually didn't let me talk about much what I thought I was going to talk about coming there. But and he controls that room too. It's pretty quick. Yeah, Tim Pool. Yes, Ostock. Tim Pool of Timcast IRL. I was on that show, I don't know, it's 3 weeks ago, something like that. Was it a month ago? I don't remember. But yeah, he's it was a neat experience. It was a neat experience. I'd like to go back and do it again. So, wow, we veered off the subject, didn't we? The Kennedy assassination. I would have loved to talk to Luke Radowski about the Kennedy assassination, but we didn't get into it. So, well, I thought I was going to have some people argue with me, but nobody's arguing with me. It's all right. It's all right. I do need to figure out your Twitter handle there, Chase, if you're still in. I think you had posted it earlier, and I'll find you again. I don't know. I'm getting some weird stuff on my internet again. That's how that goes. Well, if y'all have any more questions about Tim, I mean, like I said, I wasn't there that long. I can answer those, but I'm hoping to do some more shows like that here soon. I've got a big interview coming up at the end of October. Pretty big name that I'm doing on my channel. I'll let you know when that gets more solidified. But yeah, I got some cool stuff coming out. I got hit pretty hard after the whole OU children's things. The woke people here did not like that. No, I was talking to Chase. I've apparently blocked Chase on Twitter, and I don't know how. Are we? I don't know if anybody here follows me or not. Everybody. But yeah, I've got some cool things coming up on the show. Both the right and the left here in Oklahoma don't like me very much right now. So I guess I'm doing something right. That's cool. Stock. No problem. I'm just chilling right now. Like I said, I just couldn't sleep. So I thought I'd jump on here. I've never really done this. I did one this late at night, but it was on those 10,000 cattle that happened that died in Kansas a few months back. That was like my first live stream. It went pretty well. But I don't know. So that's kind of my viewpoint on the Kennedy assassination in terms of the actual firings and the shots and all of that. Dude, the Oklahoma elites are bad. This is any state that's completely run by one party is as corrupt as every other state run by one party. Just know that. That just because it's a all Republican state has no bearing on the level or non-level of corruption. I firmly believe that Oklahoma is just as corrupt as California. Yes, but most are Democrats. I will agree with that, and I would rather live in Oklahoma than I do than in California, because at least you'll have laws and things like that. But in terms of, there's no check and balance. There's no check and balance in Oklahoma. There's no check and balance in California. There's no check and balance in Idaho. There's any of the blue or all red states. Which is why I think that Florida is actually doing so well. Florida is actually, because it's just purple enough. You know what I mean? It is just purple enough. Yes, the hospitals run Oklahoma. And I just broke a huge story about OU Children's and the trans surgeries and all of that. And I'll tell you what. I got it just as hard from the Republicans as I did from the Democrats. Because I wouldn't allow them to not do something. Like, they still didn't really do anything. They just played like they did on TV. Ostock, are you in Oklahoma? Is this, who is this? Is this my Facebook friend? Oh, are you Anthony? I don't want to say your name if you don't want to. Did we talk on Facebook the other day? Okay, I got it. Okay, I know who you are. Great. Okay. Got it. Okay, so I know what's going on here. Yeah, no, Oklahoma's bad. You know. Chase, are you in Oklahoma? Are you still on? Something I wanted to look into. The campaign funding of Joy's to that of Stacey Abrams and such. That'd be a good thing to look into. I imagine to say it's pretty eagle, but I've been talking to some Republican insiders here, guys, and they sure enough, I didn't believe it at first. They think that Joy might win this. Like real. Like a couple of them legit think she's going to win. And after that debate performance, holy moly. I hope not too. But, man, that debate performance was just crap on a stick. For serious. Work at the Devon and the car wash. Okay. Where you at, Chase? Are you in the Norman area? And if I've met either of you in person, my apologies for not knowing you better. But I meet so many people now that I just meet once. So I know where you are, Art. I know where you are. The Duncan area, I think. Oh, okay. South OKC more. I mean, I've always loved Oklahoma. I got degrees here. Used to be the place I loved the most, actually. And now it's just, it's gone a little nuts. Yeah, that's a good website. Follow the money. You can see the donations. I would imagine that they probably maybe even dumped. I know they're dumping a lot more into the campaign now that they really think that she's got a chance. Boy, but she swept the floor with him in that debate. It was really sad. Wicked mother-in-laws. I understand that. That the house is abandoned. Wow, dude, it's really, really bad here. And honestly, you don't have half the idea. I mean, the stuff I've seen in the last 2 years, it's made me just really question everything we thought we knew about this country. The moderates. Oh, the moderator. Oh, yeah, the moderators were horrible. They were really, really bad. I did an actual watch party with Senator Jake Merrick on my show, Riley Flack, and then I did a post-mortem the next day. I went through all of it. The moderators were absolute. I mean, first of all, why are you standing on the stage like you're the candidate? You know what I mean? Get your ass off the stage. Nobody wants to see you behind the same kind of lecterns. And that he was debating all three of them. So you gotta give him some, a handicap for that. He did the best he could. But that's part of the problem. And his whole ESG green energy push is going to be the death nail of this state. And he has, I don't know if he knows it or not. They said they couldn't do nothing about it. Oh, yeah. They're not going to do the ethics committee. That's funny. Ethics. Not here. You buy your ethics here. But it's where it goes. Yeah, but they're going to forgive her. They know what she's really going to do when she gets in office. They have no scruples. She lost nothing on the left, and he lost a lot on the right. Oh yeah, they passed a bill to push EV. Yeah, no, he's right on for the UN's 2030 plan, and he's bringing in Google and all these. Honestly, I don't know if I should say this on the air. There's part of me that thinks at least we would know who we're going after and exactly what she's going to do. But Stitt just sits on so many different sides of the fence. Yes, they will vote Democrat either way. They will never vote for Stitt. But there are a lot of Stitt people who would vote for Joy. So, I don't know. Well, this was supposed to be a JFK thing, but it always devolves into the same thing, I've noticed. That's all right. It's good. Yes, stakeholder capitalism. It is bad, and he is on it. But she used those same... They were two peas in a pod, these two, when he ran in 2018. Oh, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I'm telling you, no matter what I set off to talk about in any situation now, this is what I get into because this is what people talk to me about. That's all right. That's what I do now, pretty much. So, it's all right. But these two were two peas in a pod. When she flipped to run for governor, I was like, this is just controlled opposition. That's all this, because the uniparty wins either way, in lots of ways. Stitt's better than Joy for sure. But I think, yes, it's a hotter subject. The Kennedy assassination is a little old. But man, I tell you, people get nuts during election time. Shit. Yeah, I would love to talk to Glenn Beck. I've actually tried to get in contact with him, but I say that's the Republicans here don't let me. They actually actively do what they can to keep me from getting in contact with these people. And I have that in writing from somebody who knows, who's behind the scenes. If we lose, Nathan and Warren are done. You're talking about Nathan Dahm and Warren Hamilton? What are you talking about? I've tried. I applied to work for Steven Crowder. And again, I applied again. They have. I could show you. I could show you written documentation from people who are behind the scenes in this stuff that have said that the Republicans in this state have preemptively warned these people about me that I'm nuts and all of this stuff. It's amazing. Because they know I've got a bead on them. They know that I have lots and lots of background information that could hurt them. And so they do everything they can do to try to limit my scope in this state. They do not want me getting bigger than, and that's why they freaked out at the OU children's thing. So, but if you know a way to get in contact and get me on their shows, I would love to do it. I think I could hold my own for sure. I think I've proven that, but again, it's about who you know. It's not what you can do or what you know. And that's the other thing. I have a bunch of people that come on and yeah, but Tim's a little more connected than you think he is. But yes, yeah, he doesn't really listen. And James Lindsay helped me get on that show. So James is a good friend. So, but anybody with more conservative leanings, they all don't know who Stitt really is. They don't know who a lot of the Republicans here really are. They just assume that Oklahoma's as red can be. And just like I've said, Oklahoma's the bluest red state in the country. And if they elect Joy during a red wave season, all super chats be unto me. Although nobody will ever, I venture to say that people will blame me. You coming down here, Stitt will or may hear October 29th? No, Oklahoma's not that red. Please do it. I'd appreciate it, Chase. I need to unblock you. Write in your Twitter handle here again so I can actually write it down. I don't know why I blocked you. Sometimes I go on a blocking spree if you don't have the right kind of... You coming down here, Stitt will or may hear October 29th. You're saying Stitt's going to be in Duncan? I'm just going to write this down. ROSP. Okay. Yeah, I might. Somebody invited me to, before I pissed everyone off, somebody invited me to come ask questions to Stitt. And then I pissed everyone off and all my invitations got rescinded. It's amazing. I really just tell things like I see it. I don't... That's all I do. And neither the Democrats or Republicans like the truth. And they won't argue with me either. That's the thing I can't stand. Argue with me. Come on, you come on my show and argue with me. But they won't argue with me. They won't. Especially in a public place. No, no, no. Just like the woke, though. They just want to argue with me. I would love to have an actual debate with somebody. That'd be fun. Even if I lost. Stitt wanted to endorse your wife. Yeah, he endorsed Kish here for the mayor's race, which was exceedingly weird. And she lost. Yeah, they don't answer their phones very much. Well, alright guys, I'm going to get off here. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me at freaking 3 in the morning. Need to go to bed. Getting a little tired now. So, but thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. It's nice to have a few people that will watch anytime I'm on. That's kind of neat. So, keep in contact. Let me know what's going on. If you hear any dirt, let me know. All right, guys? Peace.